Hi, we're the Psychic Twins.
I'm Terry.
And I'm Linda. We're identical twins, psychics, mediums, and we predict the future.
We're known for predicting world events like 9/11 and the Paris terror attack.
For the World Trade Center in 2002.
Really?
With a terrorist attack.
Every prediction that we made has been confirmed.
You know, I'm getting a really strong energy from your dad. Is he like a really neat guy that's sort of really supportive?
No.
Ever want children?
Yeah?
Because I feel like you are going to have at least one.
Get to the predicting, girls. You're just like observing these.
When we see Hillary predominating in the elections, we think Hillary Clinton will be elected.
It may not happen, guys. I could be completely wrong. There's a first time for everything.
Who actually caused your death? I have to be honest and tell you.
If you don't know about the Psychic Twins, then buckle in, because you're about to, and it's going to be a wild ride. Because these two, they take twin telepathy, supposedly, to a whole nother level. Note the word supposedly, though. Their rise to fame as psychics began in 1995 when they appeared on the NBC show The Other Side. And it peaked when they predicted 9/11, or so they claim, on a radio show in 1999. Then in the 2010s, the twins were befriended by none other than Shane Dawson, which led them to open their own YouTube channel in 2015 and caused a new modern surge in fame for the twins, Terry and Linda. At this point, their videos were raking in hundreds of thousands, even millions of views. And the internet loved them, and importantly, the internet believed them. But as of 2025, their channel has sat untouched for the better part of 6 years now. And their most recent post on Instagram has amassed a whopping 40 likes. They haven't even updated their website as far as I can see since like 2021. And this career flatline, it seems to be the side effect of, honestly, too much popularity. There were just too many eyes and too many skeptics on the Psychic Twins. And not to mention, everyone in the current century has widespread and easy access to like all the information that ever existed thanks to the internet, and that posed a few issues for Terry and Linda as well. And I just wonder, could the Psychic Twins have predicted this? I feel like I could just end the video there, because honestly, that was the only line that I really cared about. So like, I based the entire video around that line. So that's me done now, but I guess we kind of have to continue. So I'll tell you that Terry and Linda were not always known as the Psychic Twins. Back when they were born to Jane and Philip Jameson on the 12th of January 1955, on a cold winter's day in Pennsylvania, they were just known as their twins. And I mean, you'd think that if they had psychic abilities at that point, they probably would have waited to be expelled from the nice warm place they'd been cooking for the past 9 months on a day that wasn't below freezing, but that's just me. That's how I'd use those powers. But in 2015, Refinery 29 sat down with the twins, and one of the questions they asked was, when did you first realize you had psychic abilities? Which I'm going to wager a guess, because this is what makes sense to me. I think that they predicted that they would have psychic abilities, and then they realized, our prediction was right. We do have psychic abilities, because surely that's the only way it can happen. It just feels right, you know what I mean? But I am clearly not psychic, because that is not at all what they said happened. So let me tell you. They actually said, well, Terry said, we were born with this gift of psychic clairvoyant abilities, but we first noticed it when we were tiny little kids. We started having really strange experiences predicting the future. I would say we were maybe 3 years old, 4. And then Linda backed her up, saying, we didn't realize, of course, what it was. Years ago, decades ago, no one was really talking about this as a gift. No one really knew anything about it. We just knew that we had strange abilities, and we were also child prodigies in the arts, so people just assumed that we were sort of strange. And then Terry mentioned, she said, when we were about 5 years old, we went into our school fair, and they had a big jar of jelly beans. And I knew exactly how many were in the jar, and I won a prize. It was my first prize, I think the only prize I ever got for being psychic. But I absolutely knew how many beans were in the jar. It wasn't just a guess. And you know, Terry's final statement there really makes me, it just makes me think about the first prize I ever won. That colouring competition when I was 6 or 7 that earned me like $50, my very own bank account, and I'm starting to think that I made an oversight by not continuing to colour, because if my trajectory was anything like the Psychic Twins, I would have been like a world famous colourer by now. I could have been amazing at my craft, but no, here I am on YouTube. But oh well, I can't change the past, and I can't predict the future either, but apparently I am the odd one out here on that front. Although I'm not sure, okay, the twins based their whole careers around predicting the future and talking to and supposedly channeling, which we will get into spirits. Now, the Oxford Dictionary definition of a clairvoyant is a person who claims to have a supernatural ability to perceive events in the future or beyond normal sensory contact. And the definition of a psychic is relating to or denoting faculties or phenomena that are apparently inexplicable by natural laws, especially involving telepathy or clairvoyance. But to know exactly how many jelly beans are in a jar, well, what is that? Because to me, that's just like knowing how big my after dinner snack is going to be. And I do want to note, just to put it in your heads, that Linda did mention that the twins were child prodigies in the arts. They kind of took after their parents. Their parents were writers and painters, and the twins, they're big on painting and they're big on performance art. Performance art. But I digress. We will get to that. I'm just having way too much fun being skeptical. I'm forgetting to like introduce you to the twins. I'm just like, and this is why they're wrong. It's very rude of me, actually. I do apologize. Let me continue with this whole backstory thing. So the twins did an interview with ABC in which they claimed it's as if we're operating on the same frequency or vibration almost as one organism. That's what Linda said. From vivid nightmares to illnesses, the twins said they shared it all, even as they were growing up. Everything was identical, Terry said. If I had a pain in my right ankle, then she would have a pain in her right ankle. Throughout high school, the twins were sick all the time, and they said it was because they could feel each other's pain. We suffered for many, many years, and in fact, probably all our lives, Terry said. Then Yahoo News also wrote an article on the psychic twins. I think this was in 2018, maybe, and the opening paragraph read, twins Terry and Linda Jameson first learned about their psychic abilities in high school, when they would predict when their friends would get into relationships with boys, and when they would break up. We were always right, says Linda, laughing. Where we grew up in a little town outside Philadelphia, nobody had ever heard of psychics. They didn't know what they were. So what I'm gathering is that all of their friends probably thought that Linda and Terry were out there like sabotaging their relationships for fun. Like, I would love to hear like their friends' recaps of the time they spent in high school with Linda and Terry, because imagine you go to school with these two like weird twins, they're into theatre, whatever, and they come up to you one day and they're like, yeah, so we've seen that you're gonna date Bobby. You are, but it's not gonna last long. No, he's gonna cheat on you. Yeah, he is, with Denise on the 12th of February. Ugh, makes me sick to think about, but it's gonna happen. And then not only do they tell you that and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. No, it actually happens. All of it actually happens, and you don't know what psychics are. So you'd be like, all right, girls, what the fuck did you get up to? Like, and then imagine these twins, they pack up, they move to New York to pursue a career in comedy. You'd be like, oh, so you think this is funny, huh, guys? I'm heartbroken here. I still can't get over the fact that Bob cheated on me with Denise. How could you? But that is exactly what the psychic twins did. I wasn't joking about that. They actually did, in the 80s, move themselves from Pennsylvania to New York City with the hopes of breaking onto the comedy scene. There in New York City, the twins developed the personas the Glamazons and the Pointed Sisters. And they would perform music, they dance, they do acrobatics. They really were the children of artists. And then they actually scored themselves a guest spot on Saturday Night Live. They starred as a two-headed housewife. So they were really putting their talent of being twins before CGI was relatively easy to do to good use. But all jokes aside, it actually sounds pretty cool. Like, that feels like a big deal, you know what I mean? With Saturday Night Live on their resume, they could go on to do great things. And what they chose to do in the end was actually to up and move from New York City to Los Angeles in 2003, because they saw dollar signs in another field. In a field that I'd be willing to bet up until a certain point, they hadn't ever really considered. What Terry said about it was, she said, so we moved out there and comedy was slow to catch on, but our psychic work just, I mean, it went like crazy. People were crazy about it. And that's when we really decided to commit ourselves. It was a long time of developing our psychic gifts. We like to say it's like metaphysical bodybuilding. Instead of going to a gym and lifting weights and building up your muscles, we build metaphysical muscles, psychic, intuitive muscles. In an article on ABC in 2011, it reads, after moving out to Los Angeles, Terry and Linda Jameson began calling themselves the Psychic Twins, and they used their twin tuition to give psychic readings, charging upwards of $500 per person. The twins said that they want to make their gift accessible to all, with aspirations of their own psychic television show, as well as a book to help others develop their so-called psychic intelligence. And maybe I'm latching onto things too quickly here. Like I said, I'm really diving in the skeptical route. But I do find it convenient that essentially what the twins said was, yeah, we were kind of pursuing like a million other things, but the psychic stuff sort of made us a lot of money, so then we just decided to do that. Like, they say they begin, hold on, I'll insert the clip.
So let's talk about really quick to them how you do what you do.
Yes, well, we use a very, sort of an ancient technique called automatic or channeled writing, and we've been doing it for 25 years. No other psychic does it the way we do it.
Interesting. So that's
her.
When you're channeling, you're just writing doing, are you not even thinking? It's just kind of coming out of your hand?
Yes, it actually is. We're connecting with blocks of energy or blocks of thought, Shane, and it just comes out. We get it as a thought.
So that was uploaded at the end of 2015, and what they said is that they started to use this technique around 1990 then. And I'm gathering that that would have been right around the time that they realized that there was a gap in the market for psychic twins, celebrity psychic twins. I think there might always be a gap in the market for that, to be fair. It seems like a pretty tough shoes to fill. But then I wonder if, like, because they say they always had this gift for the performing arts, I wonder if they sort of decided to just turn their whole life into one big act at that point. But I don't know, again, if I'm so skeptical of the psychic twins that I'm taking everything they say and using it as like damning evidence, like evidence against their abilities. But look, I think you'll understand where I'm coming from the further we get into this video. I mean, I'm in the same place as you as far as research goes. Like, I don't really know anything more than you do. I just remember watching their videos on YouTube, seeing them with Shane Dawson, seeing some of their controversies, and like, I definitely looked into it back then, and I definitely formed some sort of opinion on them back then. So I am a little biased on the subject, but we'll get into that. I generally do like to be more neutral, but they gave me the ick. I can't go back on that. Anyway, back to the timeline. We're talking about the 1990s. I feel like in the 1990s, it was kind of the beginning of the era of like, we should all know less about each other. And there was a big boom around the 1990s in talk shows that were essentially like reality TV. Like, people would come on, say, Ricky Lake, for example, and they'd be like, I don't know which of these 5 men is my baby's father, and I just feel like the whole world should know that, so I decided to come on your show. Or they'd be like, Bobby cheated on me with Denise on the 12th of February 1972, and I think my twin friends caused it. I want to track them down and make them pay. And these people would like mega play it up for the camera, and I don't understand why. Like, that's so embarrassing. You have to exist after you go on that television show, and people think that that's how you act all the time. I don't get it. Like, I just will never understand why people agree to go on the likes of like Ricky Lake, Dr. Phil, Jeremy Kyle, all that jazz. Like, just don't. But it just seems like there's no shortage of people that are more than willing to appear on those shows, and some of the people who were keen to appear on shows like that were actually the psychic twins, of course. But they weren't there to air out their like personal dirty laundry to entertain the housewives who just need someone to hate, you know, just until their husband gets home. No, they made their appearances on these talk shows to monetize tragedies. What else, of course? The Yahoo article reads, with predictions ranging from natural disasters to mass shootings to celebrity deaths and audience member illnesses, the twins appeared on multiple national radio and television shows like The Ricky Lake Show, The Tyra Banks Show, and Coast to Coast, doing readings about the future. These include Category 5 and 4 hurricanes Irma and Harvey, the 2017 Las Vegas shooting, and even Leonardo DiCaprio's Oscar win. The twins' biggest claim to fame, however, is their alleged foretelling of the events of September 11, made almost 20 years ago as of 2015. On the radio show Coast to Coast, Terry recalls host Aunt Bell suggesting that they make a few predictions for the upcoming millennium. A first world prediction was 9/11 on his show, she states. When a listener called in and asked about impending disasters, the twins discussed a terrorist attack targeting the World Trade Center in 2002 and several similar events at other government buildings by then. And in their Refinery 29 article, they discussed their big 9/11 prediction further, although they conveniently left out the small detail of the year of their prediction being 2002 rather than the correct year, which was obviously 2001. So Terry said, we said there would be a major terror attack on the World Trade Center towers by the year 2002, with simultaneous attacks on federal buildings in Washington, D.C. And we mentioned bin Laden. We mentioned 5,000 would perish. And Linda continued, we even channeled in our writing United Airlines and American Airlines, and those were the two airlines that were involved. We have people, kind of like trolls, that will try and claim that our predictions are vague or made up, but everything is timestamped. It's all pretty detailed. And as tragic as this is to say and to talk about, the 9/11 attacks resulted in the deaths of around 3,000 people, not around 5,000 as they claimed that they claimed. And there's a few other things that they said that they claimed, like I don't remember them talking about bin Laden. Anyway, so I was thinking while I was researching this, I was like, well, wouldn't it be nice to actually hear what they said when they said it, rather than just like hearing them rehash and retell the story of what they said? And after hours of searching, I found the original audio in the most obvious of places. It was in a basic video. So I'll play that for you now.
We are seeing various terrorist attacks on federal government, federal buildings. Particularly South Carolina or Georgia.
Really?
By July 2002, and also the New York Trade Center, the World Trade Center in 2002.
Really?
With a terrorist attack, and Yeah, so that's
We're
pretty
seeing
much
school shootings.
And about this, look, I can't really comment on the Times because I wasn't alive in 2001, but I can point out that what they claimed doesn't seem to be what they actually claimed. And they've gone on they've made appearances on so many news sites and talk shows, and they've said, we predicted 9/11, we said blah, 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 blah. But they didn't actually say blah, 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 blah. They actually said blah, blah. Like, they're paraphrasing when they talk about it. They're taking some liberties. I found this Yahoo article. It read, the actual terrorist attack occurred on September 11, 2001, and the buildings had always been threatened since the 1993 car park bombing. It's also worth noting that fellow celebrity psychic John Edward appeared on CNN's Larry King Live on September 10th, 2001, the day before the attacks, but failed to mention or predict any terrorist activity in the US. Now, like I said, I am very neutral on a lot of things, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that psychics don't exist, and that clairvoyants aren't real, but I am going to mention something that I spoke about in my video, my Is OnlyFans and MLM scheme video, and that is that wherever some money hungry, fame hungry, power hungry people sniff out desperation and grief and neediness, that's where they make their beds. What I'm saying is that some people will use tragedy and grief for profit in ways that I'd say are inarguably slimy. And of course I'm not talking about police detectives, I'm not talking about true crime YouTubers, considering they approach the subject with respect, but would someone who say maybe would pretend to have contact with someone's deceased loved one when they actually don't, or someone who maybe claims to have the ability to cure illnesses, even cancer, being paralyzed when they actually can't cure them, or with someone who would be willing to use a slightly inaccurate prediction that they made about a terrorist attack that ended and affected thousands of lives to propel them into stardom, fall under that bracket? Yeah, they'd fall under the bracket of slimy, as far as I'm concerned. What I don't want to say is that people that do these things don't have any sort of positive impact on people at all. Because that's not fair to say. It can be really healing for some people, actually, to think that, they've been able to contact a deceased loved one through this clairvoyant that they paid $1,000 to spend 30 minutes with or whatever. And what I also definitely don't want to come out and definitively say is that nobody who claims to have, clairvoyant spiritual abilities truly have those abilities, because I just simply do not know that. But what I do know is that many people who claim to, or even have historically claimed to, this has been a thing for ages, those people that have or do claim to have spiritual abilities, a lot of them are merely entertainers, essentially. They might do some research, they might speak in generalizations, they might sound really convincing. And the thing is just that there are countless methods that can be used to fake this sort of ability. And it's easy because it's supposedly something that's, it's not visible to the eye of the average human being. It's, something that is supposedly only accessible to a select few amount of people. It's the unexplainable. You know what I mean? Oh, how do you have these abilities? I don't know, I was just born with them. And fakers rely, scientifically, more so rather than just me blabbing, they rely on something that's known as the Barnum effect. According to thedecisionlab.com, the Barnum effect is also commonly referred to as the Forer effect, and it describes when individuals believe that generic information, which could apply to anyone, applies specifically to themselves. And this is the actual image that they use to depict this phenomenon. Isn't that great?
And more than one life as an American Indian.
Yeah.
Do you resonate with American Indian culture at all, or?
So what would that mean? So if I
Right.
Fairness, a sense of justice.
Yes.
Yes.
And just when it comes to those people who take advantage of essentially human psychology for profit when it comes to, people in tough times. I mean, I don't know how they sleep at night. But I don't know how you could rest knowing that your livelihood depends on grieving people or hopeless people spending hundreds of dollars for you to lie to them, for you to offer them hope that doesn't actually exist because you pulled it out of your ass. I don't understand how you can live with yourself. I mean, if you're lying to people and you actually don't have an ability, then go get one. Go study fucking grief counseling or something if that's the sort of field that you're interested in. Make yourself useful. Because you could say oh, but what I'm doing brings these people happiness. Sure, you could argue that, but at what cost? You're lying to them. I don't know. I just don't see that as being okay personally, but I know other people have different opinions, so I'm just yapping about myself here. Please feel free to yap in the comments. I love hearing other people's opinions. But anyway, someone on Reddit wrote something that I really align with, and this is what they wrote. They said, I'm going to preface this entire thing by saying I'm cool with people believing whatever they want as long as they're not causing harm to others and are not harming themselves. Spiritual beliefs are fine as long as they're not used to harm others or prey on vulnerable people, which hurts people. But it is entirely justifiable to be creeped out by the psychic twins and what they're saying. Psychics are scam artists that prey on people's vulnerability to make money. Now, to clarify this, I'm not saying that all people who claim to be psychics are scam artists, because not all of them prey on people. But if it's someone's profession, I'm going to be untrusting because of how predatory the industry is. Last week, Tonight did an episode on psychics, specifically touching on mediums, which is what the twins are claiming to be primarily, and it goes in depth about how psychics work and why the work is basically scamming people for a living. Before we get totally back on track, there's this case that I want to talk about that I always think about when I think about psychics and scamming, and it's a case of a family that are referred to as the Bloody Benders. So in 1870, this family set up a home by a trail so that travellers would have to pass them when they were heading west, and in the back of their cabin that they set up, they had their living quarters, and in the front they had sort of like a general goods store, and they used their places like a bed and breakfast essentially. So they'd like feed travellers, let them sleep there, they'd pay, and then they'd move along their merry way, is how those establishments work. And the patriarch of this family was all from Germany. I think a lot of them had broken English, but the patriarch was 60-year-old John Bender. He had a wife called Elvira. They had a son named John Jr., and then they also had a 23-year-old daughter, and she was named Kate. Now, Kate claimed to be a spiritual medium. This is how it all ties into the subject. Like, she'd hand out flyers that advertised her ability to speak to the dead and to heal, cure ailments, and she would give lectures on spiritualism. She'd conduct seances, which is important. Now, in 1872, a man called George Newton Longcore was traveling with his infant daughter, Mary Ann, and they were heading west. So, of course, they encountered the Bender cabin, and both of them disappeared. Now, the Wikipedia article about this case reads, "It is conjectured that when a guest stayed at the Bender's Bed and Breakfast Inn, the host would give them the guest seat of honour at the table that was positioned over a trapdoor into the cellar. With the victim's back to the curtain, Kate would distract the guest while John Bender or his son came from behind the curtain and struck the guest on the right side of the skull with a hammer. Although some of the victims were wealthy, others carried little of value, and it was surmised that the Benders had killed them simply for the sheer thrill. Testimony from people who had stayed at the Bender's Inn and managed to escape before they could be killed appeared to support the presumed execution method of the Benders. William Pickering said that when he had refused to sit near the wagon cloth because of the stains on it, Kate Bender had threatened him with a knife, whereupon he fled the premises. The Bender family sold stolen goods such as horses, saddles, clothes, and other possessions under the guise that people who spent the night and were unable to pay would pay with goods. Two men who had travelled to the inn to experience Kate Bender's psychic powers stayed for dinner but refused to sit at the table next to the cloth, instead preferring to eat their meal at the main shop counter. Kate then became abusive towards them, and shortly afterwards the Bender men emerged from behind the cloth. At this point, the customers felt uneasy and decided to leave, a move that might have saved their lives. Now, you'll note that Kate, who was the best English speaker supposedly in the family, was often in charge of like interacting with the guests at the Bender cabin and distracting them. And so a common theory is that her claims that she had spiritual medium abilities were actually a chilling method that the family would use to lure people into the cabin. So people have thought that the family, Kate specifically, would draw people in with the promise of conducting a seance for them, and then, she'd have them sit at the table, close their eyes, and the men would attack. And obviously this has nothing to do with the psychic twins in the sense that they have not used their powers to kill anyone. But I think it is a telling story. It's a reminder that people are not always compelled to help others, even if that's what they claim to be doing. Sometimes they're just in it to help themselves, whether that be to, satisfy the urge to kill for thrill and then enjoy the financial gain afterwards, or whether that be in the modern day to be marvelled at by the public, to grow their funds substantially and to have that thriving career in show business that they always wanted. But what's interesting is that even with like the skepticism and the sketchiness that surrounds the field of clairvoyance and psychic abilities, psychics can be convincing enough in their powers, their abilities, that they get recruited to work with law enforcement on certain cases. And I've seen this myself in like TV shows and documentaries. Sometimes law enforcement or even grieving families will think we're so out of options that we're willing to hire a psychic for insight, because these people, like obviously the families, law enforcement, they're desperate for information, and these psychics claim that no, they can communicate with the deceased, or they can they can feel the deceased pulling them in a certain direction, whether that be to the location they were killed at or to the location they're buried at. And as much as I would like to believe that good people with good intentions are largely the ones partaking in this sort of activity, I just have never really heard of their input in these cases really leading to anything. And that makes me believe that, these psychics and clairvoyants that are working on these cases are maybe not legitimate. I mean, if you know anything about any cases at all that involve someone with these abilities solving a case that doesn't rely on like coincidence or internet research or generalizations, I genuinely would love to hear it. I love researching about this sort of stuff, but I just haven't found anything myself. And like I said, I'm not sitting here and saying that these things are not real and they can't be true. I'm just saying that it's very easy for slimy people to get involved in a business like this. That's all I'm saying. And what's scary is that The psychic twins, these gifted performance artists who achieved their dreams of making it relatively big in Hollywood thanks to their skills, are said to have worked with law enforcement as well. Linda claimed, "We've worked as psychic detectives, helping police with murder cases, cold cases, missing person cases. We've done it all." And the Yahoo article reads, "The twins alleged that they were able to get a body exhumed because of an incorrect cause of death. They exhumed the body and found out that the bullet wound was in such a place that you couldn't have done it yourself with a rifle. We're saying exhume bodies. That's expensive. It's risky because you could look bad. But it is their confidence in their skills, however, that has enabled them to make such bold predictions. We go in there where people don't really have the courage to go," says Linda. "We've done this for 35 to 40 years. And this is true. Sure, they have been working in the field for quite some time. And their skills just seem to constantly expand." As they said in the interview with Refinery 29, they said, "We started channeling about 20 years ago during the O.J. Simpson trial, and Nicole Brown Simpson came to us. We're like other psychic mediums in the sense that we can hear and see and sense spirits. We've channeled 11 of the biggest stars that died under mysterious or tragic circumstances. In many cases, it was a murder or an unsolved mystery. We're the two best known psychic crime solvers in the business. We've probably cracked the biggest missing person cases and cold case murders in history. In fact, they find us often. They'll come in and say, 'We want to be in your book,'" Linda said. "The day before Michael Jackson died, we were writing the name Michael in our automatic writing, and we didn't know he was going to pass. We weren't sure why we were getting his name, but then we found out about his death and we were like, that's why we kept getting his name. It's almost like we get signals. I'm getting ready to pass. Pay attention." And I don't know if you can tell from the way I'm reading this, but I'm just not a fan of the career choices that these twins have made. It just feels so insensitive the way they go. Anyway, I'm not ready to talk about it yet. This is just starting to get juicy, so I'm going to feed you some more information. So the psychic twins have appeared on many a TV show to showcase their supposed abilities, including a CBS show in which they investigated the disappearance of Olivia Newton-John's boyfriend at the time. His name was Patrick McDermott, and he disappeared while on a fishing trip in 2005, which I'll let them tell you about themselves. Understand that, the easiest explanation that you could surmise as to why Patrick disappeared is probably an accident, fell out of the boat sank, etc. But I'll play you this. This video is from 2010, by the way.
We were brought down to the location to do some psychic detective work. Well, the two of us went down there and we realized while we were there that he had not drowned, but he in fact faked his death and was hiding in Mexico. Well, we have an interesting update on this case. As of August 10th of this year, 2009, Patrick McDermott has contacted investigators and he says, "I'm alive and I'm well and I'm hiding in Mexico." So every prediction that we made has been confirmed. He said, "Don't try to find me. I'm happy. I've started a new life." That's right. And we were not surprised because we've been saying it all along. We do feel that he faked his death for the purpose of not paying back taxes and child support.
Now, what they shared does sound incredibly promising. Like it could be groundbreaking news. It appears to just have never reached the wider public or the police force. So an article published on Entertainment Now in 2024, so very recently, it read, "The McDermott disappearance was one of Newton-John's most difficult moments. In 2021, NBC News reported that McDermott's case was still classified as a missing person. According to the New York Post, in 2010, a private investigator claimed he found McDermott living on a boat off the coast of Acapulco. I don't know how to say Acapulco. I'm sorry. But this private investigator, he claimed that McDermott just wanted to be alone. That claim was never substantiated, the Post reported. And even years after this news surfaced, 6 years after, in 2016, Olivia Newton-John had this interview with 60 Minutes Australia in which she said, "He was lost at sea, and nobody really knows what happened. It's human to wonder, but these are the things in life you have to accept and let go, because whenever you go through difficult times, there's always these concerns." So yes, a theory circulated for a while that Patrick had faked his own death, abandoned his old life in favor of starting a new one in Acapulco, but that's never been substantiated. That has never been confirmed to be true. So even though the twins may feel in their heart of hearts that they were right, that hasn't quite been proven to be the case, and proof is very important when it comes to claims like that. There's no real proof. I mean, over a decade after this claim was made by whatever private investigator made the claim, Patrick McDermott is still sadly legally considered dead. So again, with the false hope to propel their career, it just makes me feel a little and this is a constant, they're not having quite enough proof to really substantiate their predictions. It's a constant when it comes to many psychics, but specifically on the topic of this video, the psychic twins. There is just not often any definitive proof that their claims have actually become reality. An article on Yahoo from actually way back in 2011, it reads, during Ian Punnett's Coast to Coast AM annual prediction show in 2010, the twins claimed that there would be no Katrina-level natural disaster event last year, so 2010. They said there will be a hurricane in the Gulf Coast, but not in the magnitude of Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane season hits the Gulf Coast and Caribbean every year between June and November, but the twins still used this vague prediction to claim that they saw the BP oil spill disaster, the worst oil spill in history, and seemingly worth noting for the psychics. The psychic twins predicted massive oil spill for 2010, their website states. Another 2010 prediction was there will be no tsunami activity this year, but that too proved to be a dubious forecast, with the Chilean earthquake and tsunami claiming hundreds of lives. The 8.8 magnitude scale earthquake resulted in tsunami warnings across the entire Pacific Ocean. Earthquake forecasting is another favorite of psychics, and the twins correctly predicted the Japan earthquake this year. The psychic twins predicted major earthquake in Japan in 2011, their website states. Failure to predict the tragic tsunami and nuclear aftermath aside, Japan is struck with more than 2,000 earthquakes that are felt by people each year, providing decent odds to predict a seismic event. They also went on to say that Prince William and Kate will have at least 2 children, a boy and a girl, born within the next 2 years, so I think like 2012 or 2013, and that Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban can also expect another baby. We're seeing another child for her, Nicole, by surrogate probably within a couple of years, they said. And now 2025 update, Nicole Kidman still had her last child, a daughter, as of 2008, so unless she's been hiding an extra child from the world for the past 13 years or so, I think that was a bust. And Prince William and Kate have had at least 2 children. They've had 2 boys and 1 girl since that article was posted, but they didn't have them within 2 years of 2011. Their first one they had in 2013, the next was in 2015. And to be fair, is it a crazy assumption to make that a newly married young royal couple will probably pop out some kids within a few years of getting married? No, not so much, right? So that's not mind-blowing. It's just like, even when they've gotten close to being right. Like a broken clock is still right twice a day. If you throw enough spaghetti at the wall, eventually something is going to stick there. And I mean, like, their track record, they try to make it seem like it's so impressive, but it's just like nothing I've seen has like made my jaw drop, you know what I mean? Nothing I've seen has been like, oh yeah, no, true. Nah, you nailed that on the head, you know what I mean? Like, after this article's released in 2012, you remember everyone was like, oh, the world's gonna end when the Mayan calendar ends. Well, the twins, they predicted that the world in fact was not going to end when the Mayan calendar ended. I'll put the clip in.
Well, a lot of people are really worried about what's going to happen in 2012, and we're not seeing anything to be worried about at all. Yeah, it's a very rare alignment of the sun with the Milky Way. It's taken 26,000 years to reach that point. December 21st, 2012 is the date when it's going to happen, and that's the end of the Mayan calendar. A lot of people are really scared that the world is going to end. It's going to be like nuclear holocaust. The planet will be annihilated. There'll be epidemics and plagues and storms. And it's really not true. It's just a lot of hype. We're here to say that it's not a scary time. It's a time of rebirth. It's a time of awakening to a new way of being, a new consciousness spiritually for the planet. So it's not an apocalypse. No. Don't worry. No. We're not seeing tsunamis. No. We are seeing, strange weather patterns, maybe extreme weather and some social and political unrest, but we've had that ongoingly anyway. Well, the Mayan Indians never predicted apocalypse. So you can rest assured. They never did predict anything sinister, so that is just a myth. You don't believe the hype. We're going to be fine, and it's a real opportunity, I think, to step into a new place of awakening.
And now, personally, I was convinced, absolutely convinced, that the world was going to end back in 2012, but I was 10. I think pretty much any reasonable adult could have come to the conclusion that just because the Mayan calendar is ending doesn't mean that the world is going to be swamped by natural disasters until we all die. I think, again, pretty easy prediction to make. And to be fair, if they were wrong, nobody would have known because we would have all been dead. And then they ended that video by saying something about like Obama's time in the White House is going to be challenging.
Barack and Michelle Obama, President Obama, looks good for him. They have a very strong bond and relationship between them. They're very strong together, real power couple. I'm thrilled that they're in the White House. I think they're going to do a great job, but it will be very challenging.
Which is just another very blanket statement, like, oh, you mean to tell me that being the president is a pretty big job? No shit, I've just never thought about it like that. You know what I mean? Like, but still, as the twins told Yahoo, this article, it reads, recalling a history of folklore painting witches and psychics as villains and the devil personified, Linda says, we're still rebuilding the validity of the work we do because the public is so threatened. Anything feeling or hearing things outside of the normal senses, the church tried to suppress, and so did science. And unfortunately, that went on for centuries, so we're helping people to see. Look, this isn't something to be afraid of like you were taught. It's a mystery to us, it really is, why it's still going on in 2018 where there are so many scientific studies documenting this kind of thing as being possible, she says. Thousands of studies published in reputable journals. The skeptics are more like cynics, we feel. It's really because they take a cynical stance more than an open-minded stance. So, now that we've read all this, what exactly do you think the psychic twins had been doing for all of these years? Had they truly been using a God-given gift that they had to interact with spirits and predict the future as they claim? Are the skeptics, people who've brought attention to their misjudgments, miscalculations, are they wrong? I mean, maybe it's just really hard to predict the future, do you think? Maybe it's really hard to predict it and do it right. Maybe it's really hard to speak to spirits and, get the information straight. I don't know. Or do you think the easiest answer is maybe the most probable one in this case? Do you think the psychic twins had just been acting? Well, to be fair, there is no simple yes or no answer to this question, but a lot of people do think that the answer is yes. The twins had been acting all these years. And this sort of widespread theory and speculation, it began with the expansion of Hollywood as celebrities became less of the central focus of the public eye and YouTubers started moving into that space as well. Around this time is when the psychic twins, Terry and Linda, became enmeshed publicly with Shane Dawson. Their first appearance that I could find on Shane Dawson's channel was back in December of 2015, and it's clear that their experience on television made them just absolute naturals in front of any camera because the audience loved them. They became a genuine audience favorite. Like, people thought they were funny.
Hi, Shane!
Oh my god. First of all, did not know we were doing costumes. You guys are killing it. Who are you?
We're the twins from The Shining.
Come play with us, Shane, forever and ever and ever.
The twins spoke in sync. Sometimes people really liked that.
And we'll see you in the future.
And they just kind of brought like an air of mystery wherever they went. So as a result, the twins went on to feature in just countless YouTube videos, and not just on Shane Dawson's channel. Very soon after their first collaboration back in December of 2015, Shane helped them establish their own YouTube channel.
Also, something about this collab, you guys, this is so random, but Shane Dawson set this up, and he was like sitting right behind the camera. So just something else to like keep in mind. I think I was like really like nervous.
And so these ladies were everywhere. They were uploading to their own channel, and they were collaborating with everybody who was anybody. These names will take you back, but like I've got a list here. They collabed with JennXpenn, Andrea Russett, Tana Mongeau, Lilly Singh, Jenna Marbles, Alex Wasabi, like the Dolan Twins. When I tell you they had their fingers in like every single pie, oh, they did. They were everywhere. And now, admittedly, I have not watched all of their videos or even most of their videos. Like, I genuinely just cannot justify the time that it would take to sit on my ass in front of a computer and watch psychic twins videos for hours. But I will say that their predictions that I have seen, well, they weren't always great. I do think a lot of psychic readings are kind of like as accurate or inaccurate as the person receiving them believes them to be. But in terms of reality, their predictions were largely either immediately disproved.
I'm getting a really strong energy from your dad. Is he like a really neat guy that's sort of really supportive?
No.
Or disproven much later down the road.
So I want to know about my YouTube stuff. Like, how much longer do you...
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. You've been doing this a while, and you've been so successful with it. Congratulations.
Girls?
I feel a lot of success. Yeah. To be honest, I feel like 2 or 3 years maybe, and then you're moving into a different direction.
Okay.
So.
False! Falsification! It's been 2 to 3 years, and I am still here. I'm still queer, and I'm still prospering on YouTube. So, false. That's their first prediction that they got wrong.
Isn't that their first prediction, like, kind of period?
Yeah, I guess so.
Like in this video with Shane Dawson's ex-girlfriend Lisa Schwartz, they predicted
you're going to be doing so many things, I think, in the future. I see you teaching and acting and singing and writing. I actually see you in like a stage musical.
Yeah,
that would be so cool.
Yeah, you're going to have like a lead role.
I even see films.
And you sing very well, don't you?
seem okay. I can carry it soon.
No, I think you're pretty darn good. The spirit guides are really
Very
saying
good.
have more confidence with that. Because it's a rare ability to be able to act and sing, and you move well, triple threat. So, you know, I really feel that you have big things coming, lots of wonderful projects coming.
And although this was a reasonable assumption to make at the time that a YouTuber, specifically one who was entwined with Shane Dawson and therefore acting on his channel, might pull some lead roles in more conventional media, this didn't really end up happening for Lisa, which is apparent by a cursory look on Google at her acting credits. I will say though, she must be a talent because she appeared in, what was it, Heartbreak High? Before she was even born. And I bet nobody could have predicted that. It's the first time I've seen anything like that too. Like, why is it like that? Why is it there like that? Oh, and also, they claimed that, I'll put it in. I keep going to speak for them, but I'm like, they can talk for themselves.
I think it's lovely that you guys are so close.
Absolutely.
You really are close from a past life. You've been together in 3 past lives, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And one was Egypt.
But I think always will be very close friends.
Now, as far as that goes, I found this Reddit post from 2 years ago. It's titled, What Happened Between Lisa and Shane? And it reads, we all know that Shane dated Lisa for a while before he broke up with her and came out of the closet as bisexual. After they broke up, they still continue to stay friends, but since that 2020 cancellation, the big cancellation, most of his friends turned on him, and I noticed that Lisa doesn't follow him on social media either anymore. Lisa also took down all videos involving Shane as well. So even though the twins pulled Lisa's grandmother's name seemingly from thin air.
Does one of you guys know a Rose? I keep getting the name Rose.
I do.
Who's Rose?
My grandma.
Oh my God.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. Okay.
I'll be darned.
She's around you with so much love.
She's always around.
Oh,
isn't that
I love
neat?
it.
There's a Edward or I don't know why, ED something. Could be
Living?
Yeah, living. It feels like living or dead, but ask your mom because I keep getting an Edward.
Connected with her.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Edwina. Sometimes we get weird names from the past.
All of that really seems watered down based on the inaccuracies of just like everything else. You know, it seems like they got a much better read of Shane though, because apparently the comments are saying like, oh, they predicted his cats, they predicted Ryland, who's his husband now.
I see love coming.
All right, let's start with that then.
Yeah, I see a love relationship.
I
It
do
feels
too.
like I'm writing February or March.
Yeah, it feels like
Are you
spring,
gonna-
and I'm feeling like a longer-term relationship in a 2-year time frame, but also in a
Yes.
7-year time frame.
It's a
So-
wonderful person. Very funny,
Yeah.
very kind. You're gonna laugh. It feels like, can I be so honest as to say it's a guy?
Yeah.
That is in business of
Business.
some kind. It feels like not necessarily a YouTuber
I
or
didn't
someone.
feel like it
Thank
was.
God.
Yeah, right. So, you know, and I'm
Well,
getting business
I
back.
also feel like younger, like it's
Yeah, a little younger.
he's younger. That's
Yeah.
what I feel.
Younger guys love
Now that doesn't mean you won't ever have an older relationship.
And is that somebody I already know? Or is...
This next one, no.
It doesn't feel like you know him
You
yet,
don't
Shane.
know.
I think you have yet to be introduced.
But
But
the guys
be
are
really
saying
nice.
that he's a real
Fun.
nice guy.
But they did not predict his kids though.
But no kids. I'm not really seeing kids for you. I don't know whether you're gonna have children or how interested you are in that.
dogs. More dogs.
Dogs,
right?
animals, dogs,
Yeah.
definitely.
I bet he wishes that they could have told him to fucking private his old videos before it was too late too. They're no help, are they? I did take notice though of what they say to Shane here.
Go ahead and ask us anything.
So should it be specific?
You know, the more specific, the better, because then the guides we're working with on other dimensions can be more specific, helping us with the
Any
future.
category, career, money, love.
And sorry, I do have to call them both they, because otherwise I'd just interchangeably be calling them Terry and Linda. Like, I genuinely don't know which is which, I'm sorry. I think I meant to differentiate based on their, like, opposite side parts, but I don't know them well enough, so I don't know who has the right side part and who has the left. I'm so sorry. I don't know. But again, with the whole convenience thing, how convenient. But people should really be asking them specific questions, so the spirit guides can give them better answers. Surely that's not because otherwise it would make it harder for them to guess the right answer. Could it be? No. But I mean, like, think about it. Like, so I went to like a psychic or a clairvoyant or whatever, or say we did, you did, I'll pick a pronoun. Imagine you go to them and you say, does my dad watch over me? Anyone, I mean, you don't have to have abilities, right, to be able to infer that, it sounds like their dad passed away and they probably loved their dad. So just about anyone, including these psychics, they'd say what they think the receiver would want to hear, right? So they'd probably say something like, yes, of course he does, sweetie, he loves you very much. To which, imagine, you, the receiver, bursts into tears and goes, oh no, my dad's been stalking me for years. I thought I finally got rid of him, but I guess not. But then say you ask them, you go in and you ask them straight up, you go, listen, my dad's been stalking me for years. I think I've finally gotten rid of him, but I'm not sure. Is he still watching over me? Then they'd probably say something like, oh no dear, you escaped him, some time ago. It's just, like I said, I'm not trying to comment on all psychics because I'm not focusing on that in the video, so I can't, but that is sort of, it's sort of part of the approach that a lot of them take that makes it just so easy to be skeptical. And I don't disbelieve anyone. You know, there are people that leave comments just casually online claiming to be a spiritual medium or whatever, and they make no profit off it. They've got nothing really to gain by saying that, and I don't want to pass judgment on those people. Like, that's not what I'm talking about, but focusing in on like celebrity psychics and the psychic twins and stuff like that, I'm just not super keen on them, and I'll get into why. We're about to get into why the psychic twins caught some heat. Before we talk about that though, I do want to cover this because I understand that I'm very biased on the topic of psychics, and I honestly can't say anything in favor of them, so I found this comment and I was like, I'll put this in because it kind of speaks to the idea of psychics better than I can. And what this person said is, I'm a psychic and this is how it works. You are walking a certain timeline that can change because you have free will. Everything in your life happens due to your movements in your own life. When you sit before a psychic, we will connect with the timeline that is most probable according to your energy in the moment that you sit with us. This means that you can go out and continue walking that path, or you can choose to change that path. It's all up to you. The future is full of limitless possibilities, and we are only reading one linear course, the one that you are most energetically aligned with in your current state of being. And I'm sure this kind of explanation really connects with some people, but I just don't. All I'm seeing is someone admitting that psychics don't actually have access to the future because they like rely on what you tell them and how you act, you know, the energy around you to make their predictions. I just feel like if I sat in front of a psychic with a one-way plane ticket to Japan in my pocket, but what I told them was like, oh, I really love my hometown, you know, I would love to stay. Would the psychic most likely, what do you think, genuinely, do you think that they'd be able to accurately claim that, no, I actually see you moving to Japan in the near future? Or do you think they just parrot something back to you about like, oh, well, I can see you settling down in your hometown and having a family here, you know? It's just like, from what I'm gathering, from everything that I hear about psychics, it's like they make general connections just based on like what you tell them, how you're acting, and it's just probability. I really think that a lot of these people would be better off channeling their energy into being like counselors, therapists. Like, obviously they can read people to an extent, they know a bit about psychology, like they might as well take the dive. But really, then do I need to do more research on the topic of psychics? Like, would that change my mind? I don't know. Let me know what you think. We do love yapping here, and everyone is welcome to yap regardless of their perspective on any given topic. I said this earlier, but I do really love to hear other people's opinions. I know that the comment section can sometimes be pretty like discussion filled, which I think is really cool. So don't be shy to like share and spark a conversation, please. That's the whole point of like, I'm not trying to convince you of one certain narrative. You have to make your own mind up. I'm just telling a story. But for me personally, like, I just don't get it. Like, someone said, this was on a JennXpenn video, by the way, I have to tell you that, otherwise it won't make any sense otherwise. But they said it's so easy to see right through these psychics. For example, when they asked the open-ended question if Jen struggled with perfectionism, she said yes. They took note of that and later brought up to the conversation general traits that usually appear in perfectionist people. Some degree of neuroticism, difficulty falling asleep, having a hard time trying to relax, and so on. Also, what Jen said was super accurate. All of it was either an educated guess or a matter of statistics. If I correctly predict someone will have a car accident in the next 10 years, does that mean I have special powers, or that I'm just aware of how common it is? Also, their prediction that she'd participate in TV/serious productions was so lazy. Kind of obvious given that she currently works in the entertainment industry. They also incorrectly assumed that Jen knew someone struggling with substance abuse, though it was likely given her environment. It still is a matter of chance, and they got it wrong. And that really sums up how I feel, but if you feel the opposite way, speak up. I'd love to hear it genuinely, but back to the psychic twins specifically. They really have a tendency to say things in a way that makes you think that they don't really have a clue what they're talking about, or at least that they don't really, like, not for real, they have a clue what they're talking about. Like, to Shane, because I don't know which one said it, I'm sorry, but they go, no kids, you're not gonna have kids. And then they backtrack a little, and they go, I'm not really seeing kids for you.
But no kids, I'm not really seeing kids for you. I don't know whether you're gonna have children or, you know, how interested you are in
dogs.
that.
More dogs.
Dogs,
right?
animals, dogs,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I mean, like, either way, they were wrong. I think Shane, did him and his partner, I think they adopted twins? Something like that. But if the twins had just, well, the psychic twins, sorry, not Shane and Ryland's twins, if the psychic twins had just ended the discussion by saying, no kids, you're not going to have kids, then they'd be really wrong. And they know that. So they went back, they softened what they said, they altered their speech a little bit. So that if they were wrong, right, they'd only be a little wrong. Like, there's some wiggle room in saying, I'm not really seeing this for you. Because then if it does happen the opposite way, you can backtrack and be like, oh no, I did see a little bit of that, I just wasn't sure. No, I did have a faint idea that was going to happen, I just didn't think about bringing it up. It's like, kind of, you know, when you give advice to a friend and you end up by saying like, but that's just me though. That's just what I do though. Because like, it covers your ass in case you accidentally blow up their life. Or in the case of the psychic twins, they were covering their ass in case any particular claim led to them accidentally blowing up their career. And unfortunately for them, their claims did end up blowing up their career. And listen, I'm sure their success on YouTube was fun while it lasted, and these girls were nearing retirement age anyway. Like, maybe it was about time that they took a damn break, but I'm just not sure that this is how they envisioned their years-long career as psychics ending. It should have been, because apparently they're psychics, but I don't know. The thing is that nobody could have known back then when the Psychic Twins were making it big on YouTube is how wrong exactly the twins would be about just so many predictions that they made. You know, back when they initially made them, and for years, honestly, some of them held up. Like the one about Shane Dawson not having kids. I mean, he didn't for years. Maybe like a decade later, he only just recently had them. So, you know, they held up for a decade and now they've fallen apart. And like, to be fair to the YouTubers who collaborated with the Psychic Twins and to the viewers who ate up all their claims, on the surface, everything looked good. Like if you just performed cursory research, I mean, if you thought, you know, who are these girls? What right do they have to make these claims even? And you Googled them, say you might come across like their website. And on their website, their About the Psychic Twins section, the introductory paragraph reads, Kerry and Linda Jameson, known internationally as the Psychic Twins, are the most documented psychics in history with an unrivaled track record of over 3,000 accurate world predictions. They are most famous for their stunning predictions of the 9/11 World Trade Center terrorist attacks and the Pentagon attacks of 2001 on the international radio show Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM, November 2nd, 1999. They are also the only people who predicted the England and Paris terrorist attacks, Las Vegas mass shooting, Belgium attacks, Boston Marathon bombing, and the Orlando, Florida terrorist attacks, as well as Barcelona and the rise of ISIS. And now there is no proof included in this blurb, you might notice, and this goes for like all of their claims. They never really truly back up their claims when they come true, because I think they know how vague their predictions sound. So like, it's never particularly impressive. They have to be like, oh yeah, we predicted this exactly, because they can't say, yeah, well, the year before we said that there might be some rain in Japan, like, because it doesn't sound as impressive that way. But the thing is that many people are not particularly concerned with things like sources unless you give them a reason to be. Like, a lot of people need a good reason to dig deeper. The majority of them are just quite happy to believe, especially when the status quo is to just believe. Like, if nobody else is questioning it, then why should I think is what a lot of people think. But a little known fact about the internet is that, well, you know, like how when you're behind the wheel of a car, you just find it a little bit easier to flip people off when they piss you off, even though you've maybe known them for all of a second, and oh, you pissed me off, fuck you. Well, when we're behind a screen and we have a comment section, we're very much the same way. Like, we find it easier to be outspoken, to be very critical and judgmental of people and their choices in life. And sometimes that can be a negative thing, sometimes less so. But sometimes, like in this case, as far as I'm concerned, it can be exactly what the doctor ordered. Now, remember, being YouTube stars wasn't the Psychic Twins' first claim to fame. They were on TV and radio, they did interviews, and they even had they had articles written about them that were skeptical and otherwise. I'm sure that word of mouth spread about these twins. I'm sure that people had opinions on them and whether their abilities were real or not. But the thing is that being YouTube stars was the Psychic Twins' first foray, you could say, into the wild, wild west that is the internet. And although this career move was perfectly logical, made so much sense, showed an astounding ability to keep up with the times for like 60-year-olds, it also proved to be detrimental to their career as psychics in many ways. At the start, I mean, things were all well and good, right? They appeared on Shane Dawson's channel and people liked them. People liked what they had to say, they wanted to see more of them, they were waiting with bated breath to see if their predictions would come true. Like, they were admired by people on YouTube. But these twins, they were playing a game that unfortunately they were just destined to lose. Because people on the internet, I mean, it was going to happen. They started seeing through their facade. Then, you know, these people with these opinions, like, I don't believe that these twins are really psychics. They weren't just able to share them with their friends and their family, you know, through conversation. No, they could share them with the world. We had the internet at our fingertips by this point. And so these people told the world. And the thing is that spreads like wildfire. Like, one person doesn't believe and someone else thinks, oh yeah, maybe they've got a point, and then just like that, it's lit ablaze. Like on the last video the twins ever uploaded to YouTube, it was called Psychic Reading with Lilly Singh. There were quite a few comments from people who were clearly not psychics themselves because they had no idea what was going on. They were speculating about why the twins stopped uploading. One of them said maybe they predicted that anyone associated with Shane Dawson would be cancelled, so they dipped real fast. Someone else said maybe something really bad will happen that they are not allowed to say, like the government stopped them or some shit. But as is life, the real answer to the question of why the Psychic Twins disappeared from YouTube is not very exciting, and their downfall has to do with politics. As someone very eloquently wrote, they said, because they are mostly known as fake nowadays. But to further explain, this comment pretty much wraps it up and puts a little bow on it. This person said, they had a controversy where they predicted that Hillary was going to win presidency and it turned out wrong. So everybody started exposing them and their past and how they were fake. and they just went ghost.
I remember, like, after, because they had this whole thing where they kept predicting that Hillary was going to win the election.
Oh my god, I remember that.
When Hillary did win, they came for the girl.
It really is that simple. It was one wrong prediction when the stakes were really high and people were really emotional, and it just blew up in their face. And that's the thing with being psychic, right? Is like, if someone asks you a question like, who's going to win this election? Well, you can't just not answer, because then you're not being very helpful with your supernatural gift, are you? It's not very nice. But then if you do answer something like this and you get it wrong, well, then you've just been lying, haven't you? So either way, people are not fans. Like, you really can't escape that. You just have to be right. And listen, so, this is kind of related, but something else I don't get. Surely if one psychic is a psychic and they make a prediction, then every other psychic should be able to make the same prediction. So rather than asking like Google whether there's going to be a third world war and when it's going to happen, we should just have like a board of psychics that we can go ask, and they can all wear noise cancelling headphones, take them off one at a time. We can ask them the question, and if they all say the same thing, well then we know they're onto something, don't we? All of this to say, like, has nobody thought to fact check psychics against other psychics? Like, that just seems like the obvious solution to me. Like, is it real or is it not? I don't know, ask them. But then in this video, that's right, the twins claimed.
As we've said before, we take our work very seriously. We take the predictions that we do very seriously. We make these predictions basically to warn people and to keep people safe. Yes. We don't do this as a fun game or a hobby or an experiment, and other psychics have copied or even stolen our predictions.
But I don't get how other psychics can steal predictions, because your prediction would be the same as their prediction if you're both psychics, right? So what does it matter? Like, are the other psychic spiritual advisors wrong, so they have to listen to what you're saying to get it right? Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's spiritual advisors, they don't have access to future Google like yours do? Like, I don't get it. I would love some explanation. But anyway, I got distracted. So back to the Hillary scandal. Back in 2011, in the interview with ABC, it reads, the twins say they're keeping quiet about the political landscape this time around. We got attacked like you wouldn't believe, Terry Jameson said. But somehow the twins thought in 2016, they must have sat back and they thought, now that the internet is like as ruthless as it's ever been, I think we should backtrack on that lesson that we actually learned years ago. And so they said,
we feel that we're in a national security and terror war. It's really getting serious, and because terror is so big, we think that's going to take precedent in the coming elections, and we see Hillary predominating in the elections. We think Hillary Clinton will be elected president.
And someone in the comments wrote, like, these comments in real time when the elections were happening, they said, Hillary isn't winning right now and it's making me so nervous, OMG. And others chimed in and they wrote, I know, that's why I was looking for this video. Someone said, me right now, I am freaking out, don't let me down, psychic twins. Someone even said, I bet $50 that Hillary would win just from this video, don't fail me now. But that 50-50 chance that the twins had going for them, and the 50-50 chance that the person who bet $50 on Hillary winning had going for them, well, it didn't end up working in their favour, did it? Because Hillary lost the election. Hillary Clinton did not win that 2016 election, and the twins, they spoke about this, about their claims, and they sort of tried to downplay how wrong they were.
You guys had predicted that Hillary was going to win, which technically, I don't know if you guys are going to
we saw her winning, yes.
Technically, she did. She got more votes.
Like 2 million votes. More than 2 million.
That's just not how it
and
works.
still counts.
But the only way they could have gotten this worse, truly, is if Hillary Clinton just, like, up and disappeared before the elections even started or something. Like, they really got this wrong. It was bad. So the people of the internet were seeing through the psychic twins' cracks, and not in a good way. And by cracks, I mean like cracks in their facade. By the way, not their cracks. I just said that really badly. But people, okay, they were fuming in the comments here. Someone said, now they're literally just the twins. And another wrote, well, psychic twins, what happened to Hillary winning? Someone else said, you're fucking wrong. I think they felt the wrath of the internet like immediately after Hillary Clinton lost the elections. People were not happy because they were really, really hoping for Hillary to win, and then it just sort of fell apart in front of them. And I wasn't really around for this. Like, I'm not American. I knew what was going on, but I wasn't part of this big fallout where people were complaining about the psychic twins getting their prediction wrong, because I don't really know what was going on. So for all I know, after this happened, the psychic twins kind of just started fading away out of public perception. It was just people were skeptical now. Like, they weren't just willing to sit back and accept everything the twins were going to say because, well, they've proven to be wrong. So their career just wasn't as fruitful as it used to be. People weren't as open-minded as they had been, and it didn't help that something else happened in 2016 that was particularly appalling as far as I was concerned back then and am concerned now. And I think maybe when this was released, I would have been like 14. And I remember watching this and being like, okay, there's a line and it's been crossed. And it was part of a Shane Dawson conspiracy theory video, because of course it was, in which he included the case of JonBenet Ramsey, because of course he did. And if you don't know, JonBenet Ramsey was this beautiful young girl, I think she was maybe like 7, and she was found dead and violated in the basement section of her parents' gigantic house. And there have, ever since her death, there's been a number of theories swirling around that, you know, her parents did it, her brother did it, an intruder did it. There's countless theories. So this is a topic that should be approached with respect, considering that a young girl died a tragic, untimely death, and especially considering that she has living family members, people who were close to her, who were there on the day that she died and had to deal with the aftermath, like her father and her brother, right? You'd expect someone to approach that topic with respect, right? I think we can all agree on that. But with that said, let me show you this. This is courtesy of Dwayne and Jazz's channel, by the way, because the original video, for some reason, got taken down.
We don't believe it was accidental.
Wait, so, okay, but why would the dad want to kill the daughter?
I feel that there was sex abuse for years.
Yes.
And in fact, if you are able to look at the records, which I think they've been sealed and closed, but she did see a doctor something like 32 or 33 times for yeast infections and vaginal problems.
Yeast infection at her age?
Okay, so dad killed her.
Whoa.
That's sex abuse.
Mom
Yeah.
knew that dad killed her?
Yes, she discovered that, and I think it's possible she may have even known about sex abuse. We're mediums, so we talk to the dead, and when we spoke to JonBenet this week, she said, Daddy I kept saying, JonBenet, tell us who did it.
Wait, okay, let's do that.
Right, let's back
We're
up.
going to channel JonBenet. We're going to talk to her.
Okay, we're connecting with JonBenet Ramsey.
This is always interesting.
Clothe ourselves in the white light of God and call on the angels to protect us from any harmful energy or negative energy.
Oh,
Connect with the
good.
spirit of JonBenet. Are you with us? Yes. Yes.
Oh.
I am here. Thank you for coming in and speaking with us today, JonBenet. We've been talking about your sad passing, and we've been talking with you a lot.
I'm like,
tell us what
I've never seen this even like this. Like
you were killed. It was a shock. I was so surprised. I forgive Daddy and Mommy for what happened. I forgive everyone involved in my murder. So who actually caused your death? I have to be honest and tell you, it was my daddy.
Oh my goodness.
My daddy. And I forgive him. It went on for a while. No one knew. Was he afraid you were going to tell someone?
Is he saying?
Right, it's my face.
Very afraid. It is not what it seems. Not what it seems. Mommy knew and did not tell. Mommy knew. Very painful. Are you with her now? Yes. Yes. Okay. Mommy is here. Thank you, JonBenet, for joining us today, and we wish.
And it's weird how they talk with, like one talks to it and one is channeling it.
God bless you all. Thank you, JonBenet.
And I just actually have no words for that. Like, that is genuinely all I can say. I just can't believe that 3 grown adults at their big ages collectively decided that that was an okay thing to upload. Like, I'm mind blown. That was it for me as far as the psychic twins went. I just didn't like them after that. And this is genuinely what I've been so excited, like why I've been so skeptical at the start of the video. This is what I've been so excited to talk about, even though apparently I don't have much to say about it. It's just why I'm so harsh on the psychic twins, because, I mean, if you're going to make crazy claims like this, right, to the point where you have to provide a disclaimer that what you just said and what you just did is not true and did not just happen.
We absolutely have to say a legal caveat that these are psychic impressions that, you know, so we are not a target, and we don't seek to indict anyone. Right. We do feel the indictment should have happened, but it never did.
Then don't make the claims. Don't do what you just did. And if you're going to, at least be convincing. Like, I know that sounds bad, but I think the disrespect was just tenfold because the acting was so bad. Like, you didn't even try. You didn't even try to make me think. You know damn well you didn't just do that. And you know damn well that I know that you didn't just do that. And you still did it. Why'd you do it? Just don't do it. I mean, there really aren't many things that get me heated. I do like to see both sides of a situation a lot of the time. But when I put myself in the shoes of, say, like JonBenet's father or her brother, and you've got to understand that there is speculation, but there is no definitive proof. Nobody's been convicted over anything, so there's no definitive proof that anyone has done anything in this case. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Doesn't that hurt? Doesn't it hurt to think that your daughter or your sister suffered at the end of her life, her young life, and you've suffered every day since? And some YouTubers think it's okay, it's appropriate to act like that in front of millions of people, like it's some sort of fictional story that doesn't affect anyone. A little girl died. Like, it's so icky to me. My cool is just not being kept about this. Like, I really don't appreciate it. And the twins didn't suffer from like immediate fallout after this. Like I said, they were still uploading all the way into like 2019. They were like collaborating with YouTubers still. They were making celebrity and even world predictions, but they were just getting nowhere near as many views as they had been getting. Like back around 2016 when they were still heavily featured in Shane Dawson's content and vice versa, he was in theirs. Oh, they were raking in hundreds of thousands of views, even like a solid million views on some of their videos. But by the time they retired their channel, I mean, they were making like 30,000 views on regular independent videos. And even when they featured big name stars like Lilly Singh, they still only managed to get like 200,000 views. I mean, people just they didn't believe them, they didn't care anymore. And around this time, around like, 2016 to 2019, these videos started popping up left, right, and center, and they were titled things like Psychic Twins Fails, Proof the Psychic Twins are Frauds, Why I Dislike the Psychic Twins, Wrong Predictions and Exploiting Tragedies. And all of these videos were amassing like the same amount, if not more views than the Psychic Twins' actual videos were getting. So you can see where the public attention was going, you know what I mean? Like, the most amazing Psychic Twins predictions, which is a sarcastic title, by the way, got 78,000 views. And they released a video, it was titled The Psychic Twins Lying for 10 Minutes Straight, and that got 1.3 million views. Like, that is just not good. That's not good news for your career, right? The basic video, I will say, opened with the Psychic Twins saying,
"Hi, we're the Psychic Twins. I'm Terry. And I'm Linda. We're identical twins, psychics, mediums."
And that was funny because I thought, like, what if they're lying about which one is which? Like, that's not Terry and that's not Linda. Or what if they're just lying about being twins and they pulled like the biggest Liv and Maddie stunt of all time? Just edited an extra Terry into every video and decided her name was Linda. That would be so funny. Then I scrolled down to the comments and the first one read, "The only real psychics are the Simpsons." So overall, my time on this video was great. Thank you for asking. And now the twins, even nowadays, they do still post here and there. Not on YouTube, but every few months they pop up on Instagram with a photo and at least 2 dedicated fans view it and like it and say, "Oh, I wish you would come back to YouTube." And it seems they still update their website on occasion as well. The most recent post I can find is a future scope, they call it, in which they discuss 2020 and they make predictions for 2021 and 2022. In this article, they claim, "We did predict the coronavirus pandemic and the breakthrough vaccines now rolling out worldwide for the year 2020. But I think they just have yet to understand the concept of the internet in the sense that everything is fact-checkable now. Like, you can't just drop a claim like that and move on. You've got to give us, like, real sources. You've got to give us real, verifiable supporting evidence." And I did have a look for some real verifiable supportive evidence that they did make these claims, but I couldn't really find anything concrete that would back up their claim that they predicted the coronavirus and the breakthrough vaccines that were meant to help with the coronavirus pandemic. Because they did provide some quotes later in the article, but those didn't include dates, so I did my own little search, and what I did find was that before the pandemic hit, it seems that they predicted that 2019 and 2020 promised to be exciting years for health breakthroughs. "We see ongoing efforts to address high drug costs, but progress will be slow in coming. We see more efforts in the future to control epidemics and contagious diseases. New vaccines will show promise. We see more super drugs being developed to fight growing pandemics." Which does like sort of refer to the right thing, but again, it's very general. And it doesn't specifically mention COVID-19, does it? They kind of like, they got the gist of it, but they said it wrong. But I guess they'd probably blame like their spirit guides for that, because what they feed them, like, they provide them little droplets of information and that's it. Or they probably speak in riddles or something too. But anyway, they went on to make further predictions while the world was in the thick of the coronavirus. And, well, it sure seems like they were keeping up with the news. Maybe know a little bit about the science behind fucking viruses. They just said so much. And they also said like nothing at all. Like, I'm not even going to read this out to you because it's that much of a nothing burger. It's literally, they said nothing. But with the general consensus around the twins' validity as psychics taking a total 180 in recent years anyway, I mean, none of this really matters because nobody believes anything they say anymore. So both JennXpenn around 2 years ago and Joey Graceffa in 2020, they've made videos reacting to their psychic readings in which they kind of denounced the majority of the psychics' predictions, and they both sort of came to the conclusion that most of their correct claims were thanks to personality reading. You know, like correctly reading their personalities and making assumptions from there.
There may be like a fender bender that I'm seeing for you. I just have to be honest or else it sticks to me. So yeah, that feels like within the next couple of years it does feel relatively minor.
That happened! I got in a fender bender in Hawaii while I was renting a car. Oh, God.
god. Like the last thing you want to happen when you rent a car.
I feel
Yeah, that did happen to me. It's the only car accident that I've ever gotten into. But I don't know. I feel like it's really common to get in a fender bender.
I feel like I want to warn you because I'm seeing somebody in your environment that has a drinking issue, and you're sensitive again. So I'm concerned about her. That's a danger for you if you get around her energy too much. So I'm feeling like alcohol problem.
This is so interesting. I actually feel like a lot of people in social media or like the entertainment industry, like it's really easy to have like a substance abuse issue. Now watching it back, like being older and wiser, I do think some of the things that they predicted that did come true, they could have guessed. Like some of them are very broad. I feel like I put a lot of weight behind some of their predictions that were a little too broad, but some of them were kind of specific and accurate. I don't know. To me, it really feels like 50-50. That's kind of like my final thoughts. At the end of the day, they did do psychic readings on public figures, so I feel like they could have done a fair amount of research, but some of the things they did say, you wouldn't be able to come up with just by doing research, you know, like things that would happen in the future. So, I don't know. It's truly a mystery to me. I can't tell how I feel about psychic reading.
So they had 2 predictions out of those 2 videos. One of them was wrong, one of them was correct. I mean, the thing is, while they did 2 predictions, they were really accurate on like, just energy and vibe stuff. So they picked up on a lot of that stuff, but it wasn't so much like, in 5 years you're going to have a boyfriend that does this, this, and this, and it was all just vague. Is it like a spell that they put on you that like makes you forget that they didn't actually predict anything?
But thankfully, I'm sure the twins are sleeping fine at night because skeptics are not a particular concern of the twins. As Terry said in their interview with Refinery 29, they said they refuse to believe no matter how much proof we give them because that's their job, to be non-believers. They're determined to be haters in many cases, so they're not open-minded. Skeptic used to mean open-minded, but not anymore. They're very close-minded people. And Linda said, we really do think that skeptics are afraid to embrace what they don't understand. In fact, I think they're more motivated by cynicism and anger than they are by actually wanting to see evidence. They tend to reject evidence, any evidence that's given. That's unfortunate, but most skeptics are committed to discrediting everything mystical or paranormal at all costs because it's like a religion to them, to be cynics. They're skeptical until they see our track record, and then they're unwilling to admit that we actually offered proof. And to be honest, listen, these ladies, they're in their 70s now. And Terry, bless her heart, she responded to Refinery 29's question saying, does it ever tire you out living with these gifts? And Terry said, it does. It's completely tiring and draining because we're so sensitive to energy and we pick up on everybody's thoughts and feelings. So often we'll be tired and it'll be like someone else's fatigue that we're picking up on. We might be balancing or neutralizing massive energies from the planet or the earth plane. So we're constantly dealing with an onslaught of energy. And then Linda said, yeah, it's exhausting. It's really difficult. The work we do is not easy. People assume it's easy, but we have trouble even going to parties. People just descend on us. And Terry continued, I think one of the hardest parts of doing what we do is that we're the only people to do it. So we're often the biggest target for people who either want to do what we do or wish they could. This is probably the closest thing to a superpower that you can have. A lot of the attacks we get are from professionals within the industry, and that's very draining because we spend a lot of time on the defense. And finally, Linda said, people are out to attack us because we're proving something that was unprovable before. Their hearts are closed and shut down, and we have compassion for them. It's just been extremely difficult, and it hasn't been an easy career. We didn't take the road less traveled. We paved our own superhighway, cutting it with machetes. It's very hard to defend yourself, but we never give up. We live in a world where the mainstream media is trying to delegitimize psychic work. What we're doing is helping to legitimize psychic work in a scientific way by documenting all of our specific world predictions for over 25 years. Sure, Linda. But maybe with that said, the twins actually consider their cancellation to be less of an issue and more of a welcome break. You know, it must be exhausting lying to people 24/7 for years and years. I can barely keep up with a lie for like a minute. So I guess it'll be nice for them to like have the chance to rest and lay low, not have to remember the last thing they lied about. Well, that is if they can rest anyway. It must be hard, you know, knowing that their mission, their purpose in life, it hasn't really been fulfilled. The final paragraph in the interview with Yahoo, it reads, with their abilities, for Linda and Terry, the goal is to improve humanity. We hope that people will take our lead and sort of expand on what we've been able to do over these several decades and really help mankind move in a positive direction, rather than the negative direction that we're going in now. It's a matter of life and death. It's a matter of survival. So I mean, what does that mean for them? And worse, what does it mean for us? Well, since the twins probably won't be able to tell us, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But that is the story, my friends, of the psychic twins, from childhood to celebrity to channel channeling JonBenet Ramsey to cancellation. I've lost my voice talking about this, but it was worth it. I had so much fun looking into this, genuinely, and I took so long to look into this. I'm so sorry. That's why this video is coming out way late. I say late as if I've got any kind of schedule. It's just coming out like, oh, there's been a big gap between this video and my last video, and I really am sorry if it was a bit messy. I really enjoy like the stream of consciousness way of making videos. Like, I just like to yap, but kind of like the more information is in a video, the more I'm like, now where do I put this? But I do hope you enjoyed chatting with me regardless, and I do just want to mention one last time, I know I've spoken quite harshly and skeptically of psychics in this video, specifically the psychic twins, but there's definitely some things I've said have bled out into the general psychic population. So I just want to take another moment to make it really clear, I have nothing against anybody who like harmlessly claims to have spiritual medium abilities, and I have nothing against anyone who would endeavor to seek out the help of these people. I just, as with anything, I would encourage you to use your best judgment, do your research, and just make sure you really trust something or someone before you sort of dive in head first. But I trust that you will make the best decisions for yourself in your life because you're living it, so whatever makes you happy, whatever feels right, just don't harm anyone. Really is that easy. But do tell me, with that said, tell me what you think about this whole topic. I mean, like, do you believe in psychics but not the psychic twins? Do you believe in twins at all, or do you think we're all just seeing double? Like, we should all just go to Specsavers? What do you think? Or like, do you actually believe in the psychic twins? Do you think that like my skepticism and other people's skepticism is uncalled for? I would genuinely love to hear any perspectives. I've been yapping for an awfully long time now, so it really is more than your turn to have a go. Please. I'm exhausted, but have fun, okay? Keep it civil. Discussions are great, but arguments don't tend to get very far for anyone, so let's be nice. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time today, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you maybe in my next video. Thank you. Bye. Bye.